Assalamualaikum everyone, welcome to Do Station with another video. I hope you are good, you are doing good, and you are enjoying and learning as well. So basically today is our fifth video of the series HSE ABC to XYZ Learn from the Scratch. We are trying to understand the HSE from the beginner to expert level. So today the second module, first video, which is the I think the most important one for making your foundation strong. Basically, second module is fundamental concepts in HSE. So in this module, we will cover all the key terminologies we use in the HSE. We will define them and we will try to understand them effectively in a good manner. So this is very important for someone who wants to make his foundations very strong. So and also I will divide these terminologies. I think I need to do a lot of videos to make sure that you understand it effectively. So I will cover two, three, four, or maybe five. It depends how long one terminology will take. So today's our terminologies that we are going to discuss. We will discuss three terminologies which are the key and most important one basically. What is hazard, what is risk, and what is the risk assessment, and we will understand them. So let's move to our topic, and I hope you will have a good understanding. Try to grab the good understanding of these concepts. So let's move and start our today's topic. So welcome to the today's presentation. Basically today we are going to discuss, understand the basic fundamental concepts in occupational health and safety or terminologies. So let's move forward. Let's see the introduction of today's video. So basically, we will understand today the basic fundamental concepts of occupational health, safety, and environment (HSE) today. For any HSE practitioner, it is very important to have a clear and good understanding of these concepts so he can implement practically the HSE in the field effectively, and he can play his role effectively. So these concepts are very important. Let's see what we are going to learn today. So today we will understand the hazard, what is hazard, very important. Then the health hazard, what is health hazard, what is safety hazard, what is the risk, and then what is the risk assessment process. So we will understand all these terminologies today. So let's first understand the hazard. So what is hazard? So basically a potential source of harm or adverse health effect on a person, property, or environment. So any source of harm that has potential to cause harm to people, property, or environment is called hazard. Now, let's look at another definition. Here it says a situation, condition, or object that has the potential to cause harm, injury, illness, or death to the people, property, or the environment. So basically here in this definition, we elaborate the source of the harm. It can be condition, situation, or any object. So any situation, condition, or object that has the potential to cause us harm, to cause the harm to the property or environment is called the hazards. Let's look at few of the examples. So let's first example, fall from the height. It can be due to the unprotected edges. You are working on unsafe roof, scaffolding, you are working on the scaffold, it may collapse, etc. The next is the slip and trip hazard. So maybe the floor you are walking on is slippery due to the leakage, due to the water, or maybe there is a bad housekeeping, equipment, tools, cables are scattered around and you are walking through, so it can cause slip and trip hazard. Then there is electrical hazard. Maybe there are power cables, you can touch them, exposed or damaged wires, connections, etc. Overloaded circuits, then faulty electrical equipment you are using. So these all can cause electrical hazard. It may electrocute you or can cause other effects. Then heavy equipments are the hazards. Maybe someone is driving them unsafely, or faulty equipment, maybe it brake fail at etc. So it may crash you, it can cause you different types of harms to you. So heavy equipments are another hazard. Then it comes the noise. Noise is a hazard. It has two types of effects, direct and indirect effects. So indirect means you are working in a noisy area and there is a warning call for you, but due to the noise you are distracted and you cannot hear it. So, and the direct consequences are health issues. So high noise can cause the temporary loss or permanent loss of hearing, listening. So maybe, so this is another hazard. Then the caught in or caught between, mechanical hazard, maybe there is a moving parts of the machinery equipment, gearboxes, chains, conveyor belts like. So maybe your hand can entangle or can caught in between them. Your clothes can. even some heavy equipment or objects rolling around, they can crush you. So this is another hazard. Then the struck by the objects may be moving objects like of the parts of equipment, machinery, like boom of the crane can hit you. So these are all hazards. Then comes the heat stress, heat health effects in the high heat or extreme temperatures. Maybe you can be dehydrated, so you can bear the consequences of adverse weather. So these are few examples I have given to you, so you can understand them better. So we can divide these hazards into two categories: health hazards and safety hazards separately. So it will make us easily understand them, and also the this management process also becomes easier. So what are the health hazards? Basically, a situation or condition that has potential to cause harm to person's health. Those hazards which can affect the health of the person are called the health hazards. They may include asbestos, very dangerous naturally occurring material. So it can cause cancer, lead to deaths. Silica dust, lead, very dangerous, being used heavily in the industry. Then other chemicals, paints, solvents, etc. Mold and fungal growth, basically. Then noise, high noise, it can cause direct or indirect consequences. Vibrations, heavy and prolonged exposure to the vibrations can cause the health issues. Then biological hazards, snakes, other insects that are dangerous, so they can bite you. Then the radiation exposures can cause cancers or change in the your DNA or mutation. Then musculoskeletal disorders, repetitive tasks like you are using keyboard for longer period of time, manual handling. So now look at some of the safety hazards. Basically, let's define is a situation, condition, or object that has the potential to cause physical harm, injury, or illness to the person, either immediately or over the time. Also, environment and other our business aspects are also included. So the safety hazard basically are the hazards which physically harm you, like they can give you the injury or they can damage your property or environment. So such hazards are called safety hazards. So slip, trips, fall hazards, unstable or uneven surfaces, you may fall, your equipment can be damaged. Fall from heights, electrocution, electrical hazard, fire hazard, confined space hazards, entrapment or crushing hazard due to the mechanical equipment. Then poor lighting or visibility can lead to the incident. Similarly, weather-related hazards, flooding, bad lighting, winds, etc. So these are some safety hazards which can impact your safety. So now look at the risk. What is the risk basically? So people sometimes confuse two of them, hazard and risk, together, and they cannot conceptually distinguish between two of them. But they are totally different things. So first, what was the hazard? Hazard was basically something physical. It may be situation that physically exists. It may be condition physically exists. It may be object that physically exists. Rather, but the risk itself is not physical something. Rather, it basically is the description of the characteristics of the hazard. Which characteristics? Number one, likelihood. Second, severity or consequences. So now let's define the risk. So basically, risk is the likelihood of a hazard causing harm and combined with the severity of the potential harm. So basically, what the risk is? Risk is basically the description of the likelihood that whether or not the hazard will trigger. Second, if it triggers, then what will be the outcome, probable outcome. So combination of these two things, we call it the risk. So risk is basically the combination of likelihood and consequences which belongs to the hazard. And also, as the conditions or circumstances changes, both of these may change along with. Also, as the circumstances or conditions changes, the hazard remains the same, but the overall risk value or level changes along with the conditions or circumstances. So now let's understand it with a very interesting example of the hazard line. So just suppose you go to the visit the zoo and you visit the lion there. So we know that lion is a very dangerous hazard. But what do you think at the zoo? What is the risk level of this hazard? So in these conditions, its capacity to harm you is minimal as it is controlled. It needs to become out of the cage and then it can harm you, but it is cage. So the probability or the likelihood or the capacity to harm is controlled. So that is why the risk level is very low. But just imagine that if somehow the same line comes out and in front of you, so now what do you think? What is the risk now? You see, immediately from the minimal risk to the risk has gone to the very high. No likelihood of it will target you is very high. Also, the consequences are also very high. So you see, basically the risk. What is the risk? Risk is basically the characteristic of the hazard under the conditions. As the conditions change, risk may be high. As the condition change, it may be low. So I hope now you have a very good understanding, clear understanding of both concept hazard and risk. As we understood that hazard is something physical, condition, situation, or the object. But the risk is basically the property, emerging property of the hazard with the conditions or circumstances. As the circumstances or conditions change, the risk also change along with them. So risk is basically the emerging property of the hazard, and hazard is basically something physical that may cause you harm. Let's further understand with the scenario. So here you see a safety officer is finding a risk. So there is an activity he is looking at, paint activity. So here you see that instead of providing a safe platform, they just made a platform using a plank which is balanced by the weight of his co-workers. So looking at this activity, what anyone will think? Number one, uh, clearly, it is visible. Common sense will tell us it is unsafe act. There is no protection to save this worker. And also, this is very dangerous to do that. So, what is the probability the worker will fall? It is certain. Any little smallest of the distraction or circumstance change in circumstances will result in the fall of the worker. So you see, these factors that we thought here are based belongs to the likelihood. They are describing the likelihood of the event or probability of the event that it will occur or not. Now let's look. This is called likelihood. Now look at other factors. What if the worker falls? He will die. Maybe. Maybe his bones will break. Maybe he will be disabled for lifetime. Maybe we have to bear the different costs, medical costs, fines, compensations, etc. So you see, now these factors that we now describe, which are the consequences that may come across in the case of the incident. So these things are called consequences, outcomes. So by combining the likelihood and consequences, what we get? We get the value of the risk. So now I hope you have a very good understanding of the backbone of the HSE, or you can say that overall HSE basically surrounds around these two elements, hazard and risk. What is HSE? Basically, HSE is finding the hazards and then controlling them, total HSE. And how we do that is called risk assessment. And now this is the third terminology, which is very important, and now we will understand it. So what is the risk assessment? The risk assessment is basically the process of identifying, evaluating, and controlling the risk. So simple. The process in which we identify the hazards and then we evaluate the risk associated with them and then we put the suitable control measures is called the risk assessment process. Let's further elaborate it. So basically the risk assessment is the process of identifying all the potential hazards of the organization, evaluating their associated risk and implementing suitable control measures. So now first of all we understood the hazard. So the risk assessment process is basically the process in which we do minimum of the three things. Number one, identify all of the potential hazards of the organization that may impact us. Then we evaluate their probable impact and then we implement suitable control measures so we can make our processes safe. So that is called risk assessment. So basically, it is identification of the hazard, it is assessment of the risk, and then it is the prioritization of the action. Now, let's further brief. In the later chapters, where I will explain this whole process comprehensively, but here I just briefly explain it further. So basically, risk assessment process is we identify the hazards. Then in the second step, we estimate the risk. Estimation is the process where we find whether this or any identified risk has any possible impact on organization or not. Then we evaluate if the risk has, we assess that the risk has potential to impact us, then we evaluate it. What is the level of the risk? And after the evaluation, or on the basis of this evaluation, we prioritize them. We prioritize, let's say, high risk, so we can address them first, then moderate, then low risk. Okay, so that was it, our topic. Let's discuss the conclusion. So let's make the life more simpler. So we discuss hazard basically. So hazard is basically the potential source of harm, any potential source of harm. Then what is the risk? So we can say that the potential harm itself is called risk. And what is risk assessment? The process in which we are looking into hazard and risk, and we are identifying and controlling them and making sure that our processes are safe, our people are safe, our environment is safe, is called risk assessment process. And the risk assessment process is the very critical and key component of occupational health and safety that ensures that helps us to make sure that our business, our people, our environment, everything is safe and sound, our business is more sustainable and profitable. So that was it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video will be very helpful for you. If you have any feedback, any questions, any concerns, please share with me. Thank you again, and see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe and healthy. So with the next video, see you soon. Until then, goodbye.